Right before Christmas, a distinguished engineer from Microsoft made a post on LinkedIn that might quite possibly be one of the most ridiculous, retarded things I've ever seen posted officially from a company. I talked about this a couple of days ago over on X, and I'm just going to read what I posted here to you now to make sure I don't miss any of the ridiculousness or misquote this at all. Microsoft has set a goal to eliminate every line of C and C++ from Microsoft by 2030. And what are they going to replace that C and C++ code with? You guessed it, Rust. Of course it's Rust. It's always Rust. And they're going to use, and this gets better, they're going to use AI to do the Rust rewrite at an absolutely insane speed. Quote, our strategy is to combine AI and algorithms to rewrite Microsoft's largest code bases. Our North Star is one engineer, 1 month, 1 million lines of code, end quote. 1 million lines of code per engineer per month. That is insane. That is the definition of insanity. If you look up insanity in the dictionary, it says trying to rewrite 1 million lines of code in a single month using AI and algorithms. That's insane. None of that makes any sense. It's just ridiculous and dumb. This kind of decision making is common though among those with a deeply held delusional faith in the cult of Rust. There's a lot of issues here. There's a whole lot of issues here, but this is very distinctly a uniquely Rust phenomenon. So what they do is they take battle-tested code and rewrite it without a clear benefit to the end user in mind at an absolutely reckless speed. We see this over and over again. We're seeing it like the Ubuntu GNU Core Utils release. It's over and over and over again. Re-release it, rewrite it, and release it quickly before it's even tested. Force other users to adopt the rewritten Rust code before you can really even spend enough time on it to know if it's even functional. This is over and over again a pattern. And it's all done while holding a delusional belief that new Rust code is superior in all ways and is inherently bug-free thanks to the divine nature of Rust. Now this came from Galen Hunt, is who posted this. He's a distinguished engineer over at Microsoft. I'm just going to read a little bit of his post on LinkedIn because you deserve to hear it straight from Galen himself. Quote, I have an open position in my team for an IC5 principal software engineer. The position is in person in Redmond, Washington. My goal is to eliminate every line of C and C++ from Microsoft by 2030. Our strategy is to combine AI and algorithms to rewrite Microsoft's largest code bases, so Windows, Office, etc. Our North Star is one engineer, 1 month, 1 million lines of code. It's hard to even say that while keeping a straight face. To accomplish this previously unimaginable task, it's still unimaginable. I can imagine it. It's just a disaster. We've built a powerful code processing infrastructure. That sounds great. TM. Our algorithmic infrastructure creates a scalable graph over source code at scale. Our AI processing infrastructure then enables us, I'm sorry, it's ridiculous, to apply AI agents guided by algorithms to make code modifications at scale. The core of this infrastructure is already operating at scale on problems such as code understanding. Now, I posted this just before the holidays, just before Christmas on December 22nd. It's been viewed close to 2 million times since I posted it. And so after I put that up there, it created a bit of a lightning storm. Other outlets started covering it as well. By the way, other outlets, feel free to grab a screenshot of Galen's own post. You don't just have to copy the Lunduke Journal's post. Just a pro tip to all the other tech journalists out there. Um, anyway, but here's the thing. Here's the thing. What we're seeing here with Microsoft's rapidly rewrite all code in Rust using AI plan is two delusional groups joining forces, right? On the one hand, we have managers who believe everything is better with AI, right? You see a problem, you throw AI at it. Oh, here's some algorithms. Here's a large language model. Here's AI, and everything is better, right? We save so much money. We don't have to have as many engineers because now there's AI in the project, right? That's kind of a delusional thinking. We're seeing it over and over and over again. I mean, how many pieces of software does Microsoft and every other company need to just shove AI into? And it's permeating so many. Most major corporations that make software at this point are just shoving AI. Oh, there's a text editor, it gets AI. Here's a web browser, it gets AI. There's a spreadsheet program, and more AI. AI into everything. It's delusional. And they've joined forces with the Rust cultists, right? The true believers in the Church of Rust. They believe wholeheartedly that the C programming language is unclean, right? It has an invisible sin about it, and it must be purified. And the only way to do that is to get rid of the C and replace it with Rust code, because Rust code is free from sin. Now, those two groups joining forces creates a delusional thinking whirlwind, the scale of which has never been seen before in software engineering. It's just crazy. I can rewrite 1,000,000 lines of code all by myself every month, and I'll use AI and algorithms and Rust, and it'll be bug free, and I'll completely understand all of it. Like, it's crazy. It's pure unadulterated insanity, and we're seeing it. The fact that it exists at all is crazy, but the fact that Microsoft has specifically positions where they're going to be paying people to do this is crazy. Now, I wanted to provide an update on this because after I posted the story over on X, and it was at 1.8 million people. It got shared 1.8 million times, or seen 1.8 million times. The distinguished engineer came out and made a post to clarify damage control mode. It's great. Reading between the lines, you get into damage control mode really, really fast. So here we go. Here we go. This is from, again, Galen Hunt, the same distinguished engineer who made the job posting. Update. It appears my post generated far more intention than I intended, with a lot of speculative reading between the lines. Just to clear, you really didn't have room for reading between the lines. You just said things outright. We quoted it, and everyone was like, "That's retarded." No reading between the lines was necessary. Just to clarify, he says, Windows is not being rewritten in Rust with AI. Okay. My team's project is a research project. We are building tech to make migration from language to language possible. The intent of my post was to find like-minded engineers to join us on the next stage of this multi-year endeavor, not to set a new strategy for Windows 11 Plus or to imply that Rust is an endpoint. Okay, see, that's damage control mode because okay. I think he's probably telling the truth somewhat here, right? This clearly is a research project. Obviously, it's a research project. But that's the thing with research projects and knowing how Microsoft works. The point of these research projects is to see if something works, to try it out, and to make it the future of Microsoft, right? So many of the major Microsoft products begin as a research project or a pet project, and it grows from there. That's the whole point of this. Microsoft is putting actual money into see if we can rewrite all of our major code bases, as he described it. Microsoft's largest code bases to rewrite 1 million lines of code per engineer per month using AI. Let's see if we can pull that off. And he believes we can, and Microsoft believes he can. And so they're pushing forward on it. It's craziness. It's delusional, insane thinking. I mean, if you think about that, what does that work out to per minute? Per second? Like, how many lines of code do you have to crank through every hour in order to hit 1 million lines of code per month? It's astronomical. It's totally astronomical. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. But they're in damage control mode because people read between the lines on requoting exactly what you said. And it was interesting seeing the responses, though. Because even if we take aside the fact that, maybe this is something that Microsoft's going to backtrack on because the idea is so crazy. So it's not something we have to worry about in Windows because Microsoft realizes that, oh, wait a minute, that is a crazy idea, right? Maybe that's the case. Maybe it's a research project within Microsoft that will go nowhere, right? And Microsoft will not expand it any further. Maybe that's the case. I don't know. With how much Microsoft is embracing AI and everything from Notepad to Excel to GitHub and beyond, I kind of think this is the way they want it to go internally. But putting all that aside for a moment, the response from developers to this has been fascinating. Overwhelmingly, people were like, well, that's crazy. Right? All the non-cult member developers out there looked at this and said, no, that's crazy. The language isn't the key thing here. Rewriting 1 million lines of code in AI per engineer per month, that's insane. That's just not going to happen. That's not going to fly. Forget about it. Just forget about it. Even if you love AI, it doesn't matter. That's crazy, right? And also, why would you take all of Microsoft's code and rewrite it in Rust? Or rewrite it in anything. Why would you rewrite the code at all in any language? It doesn't matter. That's just a terrible idea. It's just a bad business decision. You're not going to ship. It's going to be a disaster. We've all been down the road of rewriting and refactoring massive code bases. We know how this ends. It's going to be bad, right? But not the Rust engineers. The Rust programmers, they're the true, I shouldn't say Rust programmers because that's not true. It's the Rust cult members, right? Which is different, right? That's a subset. Rust programmers, it encompasses a lot of developers out there that are not part of the cult of Rust. But members of the cult of Rust, boy, they got defensive about this. Really, really defensive. According to Rust cultists, code written in C and C++ has an invisible sin which must be cast out. And only Rust, according to the cultists, the holiest of all programming languages, is truly free from invisible sin. This is how many Rust cultists are defending the idea of Microsoft using AI to rewrite 1 million lines per dev per month of C, C++ code in Rust. It's a patently absurd notion, one which requires delusional cult-like beliefs in order to justify. Here's one such post from a Rust cult member. Replying to anyone who calls Microsoft's long-standing code as battle-tested. Quote, it's not battle-tested code, it's simply code with memory safety vulnerabilities which have not been found or exploited yet. The clear benefit here is entire classes of memory safety vulnerabilities cease to exist as a thing. So again, the code, which Microsoft has been shipping, and I have many criticisms of the quality of Microsoft's code, but the reality is, if they've been shipping some of this code for 10, 20, 30 or more years, it's pretty well tested in the field at this point. And so, but the idea that it must have some invisible, unclean sin about it, a memory safety vulnerability. It just hasn't been found yet, so we've got to replace it with Rust before the unseen, invisible sin becomes manifest, right? You see this over and over and over again. It's a religious zealotry, and so many people were jumping on this bandwagon. Someone else started. They started getting compared to what's happening over with Ubuntu, with the GNU core utils and whatnot. And someone posted that the quote Rust core utilities now pass 87% of the test suite. Given this, it would no longer be accurate to say that GNU core utilities are more reliable. So they're saying that since the Rust rewrites, the Rust clones of the existing C GNU core utilities is now passing 87% of tests, that therefore it's more reliable. This is a great example of the problem of the logic issues with the Church of Rust, right? The Rust cultists. Here we see someone trying to make the case that passing 87% of what's known as BFTs, basic functionality tests, right? To use Microsoft terminology. Microsoft terminology groups tests, software tests, into a couple of different categories. One's called BFTs, or sorry, the lowest possible type of test is called BVTs, build verification tests. And those tests are just, did the build of a piece of software work? Did it compile without errors? Does it launch and does it quit, right? Does the software launch and quit? And that's it. Just making sure the build functions at a bare level. And then above that is the kind of the basic line of, does this software function? It's called basic functionality tests, BFTs. And those BFTs are real simple, right? Does it encompass all the functionality of the software? No. Just, can you, if it's a notepad, can you type some text into it, open and save and quit, right? That's about it, right? Just the basics here, right? And then everything above that they call comp tests, comprehensive tests. And that's where you really get into the nitty gritty of all the functionality across of a piece of software. So what we have with the Rust rewrites of the GNU core utilities is a very trimmed down basic functionality test suite. It has very, very few tests, a handful of tests, a couple tests per piece of software within the GNU core utilities, or within the Rust-based core utilities. So it's not even complete, right? But what the Rust cultists are positing here is, since the Rust core utilities is passing 87% of those incredibly trimmed down set of tests, that, oh, it's even better than the old GNU core utilities that's passing 100% of the tests. It's crazy. Software which fails at 13% of its most basic tested functions is simply not ready for release. You would not have, even at Microsoft, which has a history of shipping some pretty buggy pieces of software, including some that I worked on. You don't ship a piece of software if it's failing 13% of your most basic functional tests. You just don't do it. And that doesn't even factor in the fact that there aren't comprehensive tests happening for the Rust-based utilities. And yet the delusional state of the Rust programmer right now is, well, oh, it's failing 13% of even the most basic functionality. That must mean it's already better than C. What? It doesn't make any sense at all. It's a delusional thinking, and that's something that we're seeing at play here in the let's rewrite a million lines of code across Microsoft's largest code bases thing, because you wouldn't have that with another language. Or I really don't believe that you would likely see these sorts of insane, grandiose things if we were, say, rewrite it all in assembly. Could you? Yeah, you sure could. And in fact, if we were doing AI, I don't see why we couldn't rewrite it all in assembly. Let's do it. But we don't see that happening. We also don't see it being rewritten in Objective-C. No, we see it rewritten in Rust. That's always the goal, because that's just pure insanity. And a lot of people pointed to this story and was like, well, I'm going to use this is a good chance to eject from Windows and head on over to Linux town. But I wanted to caution everyone and kind of make this point here. This is something we're seeing on the Linux side too. Rewrite everything in Rust using AI at a reckless speed. We're seeing it at Microsoft. We're seeing in Linux town with Ubuntu. I mean, even the Linux kernel itself is adopting Rust code and adopting AI driven development. They have an official, yes, we accept AI code policy now. They're just on board with it. Red Hat, the largest Linux company in the world, not only has a yeah, AI is acceptable policy for their Fedora Linux distribution and beyond, they actually pay their employees more the more AI they use. They have an official policy at Red Hat where you get bonuses based on how much you use AI, you advocate for AI, and you incorporate AI into the various projects that Red Hat works on, which is a ton of different pieces and parts of software out there. So yeah, AI is being pushed constantly. So rewrite it in Rust, rewrite it fast, use AI and algorithms, and barely test it. And it's definitely better because it's written in Rust. It's crazy. It's absolutely insane. And I mean, I'm not the only one out there speaking this. Steven Sinofsky, who many of you will remember, used to run the Windows division at Microsoft during the release of Windows 7. He was around during the early days of Microsoft Office. He was the team lead of MFC, Microsoft Foundation classes. He was one of the early leaders of Microsoft Visual C++. Like, I mean, he's been around a long time and was responsible for some of the most widely used and some of the most well-respected pieces of software to come out of Microsoft. He had this to say. I wish I had words to describe this, talking about the 1 million lines of AI, blah, blah, blah. Strategically, this is not an investment in the future. It is activity in search of progress. I really said the same thing in 1990 about rewriting C into C++ and urged to focus on just the C stricter C compiler, and I was working on C++. So well, basically what he's saying here is, sure, there are cases where obviously working on new languages is important. Steven Sinofsky was working primarily on C++ at the time, but even back in 1990, he urged caution about moving from C and C++ at breakneck speed because you could open up a whole ball of worms there, and you got to be a little bit careful about it. And what we're looking at here at Microsoft really is an activity in search of progress, right? It's not setting out to fix a real use case that end users have. It's not setting out to make software better in some obvious demonstrable way. It's setting out to remove an invisible sin and do so using a ton of churn to cause a lot of chaos, and then boom, something will happen magical. We won't even see what, and everything will be better now because the invisible sin will be cast out. It's an activity in search of progress, and it's crazy. But I'm not the only one who thinks that. We'll see. We'll see if Microsoft actually ends up following through with this beyond the research stage of it. Obviously, it's not going to go well, right? So my guess is Microsoft will continue to ramp up this as a huge waste of money and time within Microsoft Research. My guess is it'll expand, if it already hasn't, beyond Microsoft Research into Office, Windows, and Azure, and a couple other groups, and then will spectacularly fail, and they'll have just wasted a whole bunch of time with it, and they'll continue shipping the software that's not Rust rewritten in AI. That's more than likely what's going to happen. We're probably not going to see a brand new AI developed Windows that's entirely written in Rust. I mean, realistically, where's the quote? He says Windows is not being rewritten in Rust with AI. I think more than likely, I mean, if it is a Microsoft research project, that means they're going to try, but they're going to fail, and that's just not what's going to happen. Windows is not going to ship with that. So anyone out there running Windows, I don't think you need to panic and run for the hills just yet, because realistically, this ain't going to ship. It's just a whole lot of delusional people at Microsoft doing delusional things and wasting a whole lot of time and company resources in the process. Thank you to the Lunduke Journal subscribers for allowing me to do this sorts of coverage. I could not do it without you. I couldn't do it without the amazing lifetime subscribers. Here's a wall of nonstop names from the lifetime. Oh, here's a second wall of lifetime subscribers. My gosh, what a third wall. That's right. We're up to wall number 3 now, baby, of people who emailed me and said, hey, Lunduke, I want to be on the wall of shame. Put me up there so that crazy people on the internet will yell at me. Well, you got it, dude. Here you go. Thank you very much to all the lifetime subscribers and all the monthly and yearly subscribers. Couldn't do it without you. Go to lunduke.com. All the details are up there. As I record this, it is Friday, December 26th, which means there's a couple of days left if you want to pick up a lifetime subscription for $89 or get 50% off the monthly or yearly Lunduke Journal subscription. It's all up at lunduke.com. Go ahead and grab it. Grab one, save some bucks, keep the Lunduke Journal rocking. You know the drill. It's pretty fantastic. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, nerds and nerdettes across the inner tubes, I do declare, end broadcast.